Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan talking about the world's elite, the demon elite, as I like to call them. I want that to spread. Please use that. They're not just elite. They're the demon elite. Okay? But we're talking about them and how out of touch they are. Joe is likening it to celebrities. I'm going to be going from the conversation that they have about the world's elite being so out of touch, and they're touching on the reason that these people are out of touch. And I think it's bang on, but I'm going to add to it. Of course, we're going to touch on Klaus Schwab, of course, the WEF, Bill Gates. You're going to hear some stuff from De Niro, Bill Maher, Tom Segura, surprisingly, Joe Rogan's friend. You would think this guy was more down to earth, but I found something that's just, it's, in my opinion, just from being somebody who listens to podcasts, just revolting. And then the last person, last but not least, the absolute most ridiculous person telling people to just start working is absolutely just wait until you see this one. Wait until you see the top person. Now, don't forget, I have a new channel that I am putting content out on. I am doing news, daily news. We're breaking away from the Rogan content. We're doing news topics, various stuff, like it says right up there on the YouTube channel, culture, society, politics, and we're putting out videos daily. Hit that subscribe button on that channel. It is called Coach Colin Media. There's going to be interviews on there soon enough. There's going to be other types of podcasts on there. And eventually, when I actually have freed up and have somewhat of a team, there will be documentaries there as well. So make sure to hit up that channel. Now, let's get to this clip. Oh, there we go. Let's go.
It reveals that we are in territory that was just simply not anticipated by the U.S. founders, by any of the important founders of the Western nations, right? Nobody envisioned some sort of an attack from within in which the ability to generate enough food for the population would be targeted, right? That seems an insane thing that one doesn't need to create rules against, because it would be, if we view through a couple century old lens, it would be a suicidal move. But that's not the case anymore. You're dealing with a global elite, and that global elite has options that were, unthinkable in the 18th century. So that said, I don't think these people, whoever they are and whatever it is they are doing, I do not believe that they understand the world nearly as well as they think they do.
Do you think that's just because they're removed? I mean, if you're one of the billionaires that's involved in the World Economic Forum, how much contact do you have with regular people? What are your perceptions of regular human beings? And if you've been living like that for a long time, I liken it to like celebrities who just have no concept of how other people think or behave or feel, because they've been famous and wealthy for so long and adored for so long. They don't understand the plight of the average human being.
They don't understand, and they don't care, because they don't see themselves as headed back that direction.
Right.
It's a rare elite that, even if they came from humble beginnings, it's a rare elite that maintains that mindset in any significant way, because it becomes an obstacle. It becomes a limiter of what strategies you can deploy.
Yeah, and encourages empathy, which is bad for business.
It's very well said, Joe. But the problem is, the elites, especially ones who have, to some degree or other, arranged their ascent, right? They've done something that makes them feel like they must be very well informed, they must be very clever, right? There's some component of their power that is the result of some moment of cleverness in their past, or maybe more than one. But it makes it difficult for them to remember how much of what they accomplished actually had nothing to do with them. It had to do with systems built by other people that they know nothing about. And the tendency for them to see the part of the puzzle that they're comfortable with, right? Maybe it's the strategy of power and control, but to not appreciate the parts of the puzzle that nobody's expert at, right? They're dealing with complex systems layered upon each other. The ability to disrupt that stuff in a way that it stops functioning such that even the elites who make this happen are not going to like the world that they're going to create. They may not even be able to live in it, right? That's the biggest concern I have, right? If I thought that they were diabolical but knew what they were doing, then my sense is, well, all right, we're in for a bad 100 years, and that's terrible, but that's not extinction, right? I think we're actually headed for extinction, because I think these people have no idea what they're playing with. They do not understand what needs to be preserved in order to keep the world functional enough for them to live in.
How is that conversation not taking place? That's what doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
is it coming from a place where they never feel like they're ever going to go back to poverty or to any sort of chaotic world that we could envision if everything falls apart? They think they'll be protected ultimately because of resources, influence, power.
Think about it this way. Let's say that you're really good at the game of power and control, and you manage to take what would ordinarily be a profit-making entity, a social media platform, and you get it to sign up for rules of censorship that are bad for business but good for keeping dangerous ideas from spreading. Well, then you're also likely to utilize that mechanism to shut down the very discussions that you need to hear. So if you think about the question, and I don't know how accurate it is that monarchs had court jesters. I don't know how regular that was, whether it was an exception. But if you think about the position of a monarch who needs to know what's actually going on, but nobody around them is going to tell them because
Right.
it's too dangerous to tell the king that the people think he's an asshole.
Right.
So you empower a jester. Maybe you put a ridiculous hat on him and he speaks in a weird way so that anything he says is dismissible. But the point is that guy is actually in a position to tell you what you need to know, right? He can make jokes that are funny in the street that you're not going to hear because you're the king,
Yeah.
right? So these new power elites, they don't have a mechanism that overcomes the control that keeps people from telling them exactly what they need to know. Look, if you're one of these people, you're going to screw up the world that you cannot escape. And nobody can tell you that because you've managed to create a very pleasant world of people who tell you what you want to hear. So that's the danger you're putting us in, and we're mad about it for two reasons. We're mad about it because you're plotting against our ability to guide our own ship. That's natural, and you expect that part. But we're also mad at you because you're screwing up the world, and it's not yours to destroy.
Very true. Very well said. Just going on a quick ad break where I'm going to jump in here with some points while I get through this ad that Rogan was about to show everybody. I know you guys see enough ads as it is when it comes to this whole YouTube thing, so let's make sure it's not another one for you guys. I will say one thing towards what he's saying. I do not think that they actually care. I think he's giving them too much credit to think, oh, they just don't realize what they're doing. I think they fully realize what they're doing. Jordan Peterson has talked about it extensively in regards to these global elites, what they're doing. I think they understand completely that a lot of what they're doing is going to there's going to be human loss. A lot of what they're doing is anti-human. I think they understand. When I look at people like Sam Altman and even Elon Musk working in AI, they're fully aware that they are going to people are not going to have jobs. They're fully aware that billions of jobs are going to be lost. They know exactly what's happening. When you see somebody like Bill Gates talking about, hey, people are going to eat less meat, and I want them to eat less meat, and I want them to do this, and I want them to abide by that. They understand. Jordan Peterson, the last time he was on Rogan, he was talking about how if they keep on, I think it was the EU, they were talking about bringing down energy or making people use less energy. And Jordan Peterson likened it to, if there's a couple of old people who can't withstand having the temperature in their house turned down by 5 or 10 degrees. It's just not a livable situation for them because they're old and they need warmth. They understand. They understand what's going on. They're okay with human loss. I think that's what it is. And honestly, I think it's not like kings. I think it's more like gods. I think eventually, if you don't have a foundation of God, and you are acquiring all this wealth, I think you liken yourself to a god. We're seeing that in Kanye West now. Kanye West was all about Christianity, and then he pushed it aside and said, "Oh, I asked Jesus for a bunch of stuff, but he wasn't doing what I was asking him to, so I had to go and do it myself." He literally just was like, "No, I had to step in and be Jesus." That's across the board. Kanye's just the one that stands out and says all the quiet things out loud. But they all have that mentality that you see in Kanye. And I know there's a lot of good to Kanye, but all of the craziness, all of the almost, we could call it almost egomania type of thing, they all have that. All of those elites all of those elites have the inner workings in their mind, just like Kanye West. Let's get back to this clip.
Children will be protected. And I think they just might, it's the old phrase, rules for thee, but not for me. And we see that with like the World Economic Forum serving beef short rib. It's like, what do you really believe, and why are you saying what you're saying? And do you think that because you're so protected now, because you go from limousine to private jet to major hotels surrounded by armed security, back and forth, your interaction with a person who's like trying to deal with their bills, trying to deal with their bullshit, trying to deal with, mortgage payments and whether or not they can afford to pay their taxes and that kind of shit, you're completely removed from any financial strife. And once you get into that category, I'm nowhere near those people, and I don't worry about it, so they must not worry about it. So they can't ever think that it's going to be an issue, because it's not an issue. It's just like human beings have this inability to recognize anything that they don't immediately interact with. Everything else becomes abstract. Like even the whole climate emergency. It's a great thing to talk about. It's a great talking point for people that need something to wave a flag for and scream and protest and block the highway for. It's a great mechanism in that regard. But are you really worried about it every day? I'm not worried about it every day. Every day I wake up, I'm like, it's pretty much just like yesterday. It's not that much different.
No, I'm worried about it less and less, in fact.
I'm worried about it less and less as well. And also because of the way China's taking it on, which is not at all. China's building power plants left and right. They've got 100 coal plants being built right now, plus more than 100, right? What was it, Jamie? I think it was like close to 200. They're not, and they are the number one. Them in India, they're the people that are dumping shit into the air. Killing cows isn't gonna put 0.5% of a fucking dent in the amount of greenhouse gases that get emitted. It's not a lot.
No, let's put it this way. I think we have to have one caution, which is just because they're using it to manipulate us doesn't mean that there's not some underlying truth there. But if I look
Good
at,
point.
Where the water line was when I was a kid versus now, it hasn't budged. That alerts me to something. I do think I've seen a little bit of glacial retreat in places that I knew, but it's not a lot.
Well, also, isn't that, regardless of whether or not people are polluting the world, and I think they 100% are, and I'm 100% on board. Look, if you go to Los Angeles from the 1960s and 1970s and look at the air, and then you look at the emission standards that were enacted, catalytic converters, the way they changed how cars work, it is much better now.
So much better.
Substantially better. Clear indication that these regulations that were smart and intentional, they worked. They did something good. It's better.
So they just get into a climate change talk near the end, but focusing on the fact that some people are just way out of touch. I mean, and even as they're saying this, you could easily put Joe in this as well. I mean, if we speculate that it was a 200 some odd million deal, or I think it was 100 million a year for 3 years or something like that. That's what people were speculating. Let's just say it was $250 million. And then this deal that he just got with Spotify again was $250 million on it, which he owns, I think, not fully, but a lot of it. Multi-million-dollar company. Let's just say that's a few $1 million there. Like he's, and then the comedy and advertiser. It's just there's a whole bunch of stuff. So you could say he's in there. Probably has a net worth of like $600 million. I would say $500 million to $600 million. House is worth about $15 million. So you could throw him in there as well as somebody who's being out of touch. In fact, him and Louis C.K. actually had a conversation, and I should pull this clip up, where Louis C.K. is pretty much just laughing at the fact that he's talking about cold plunges, and he's like, wow, that's such like a luxury thing to have happen. Like, it's like you're talking like it really matters, but it doesn't really matter. And Joe's trying to combat him, and he's like, no, the proteins that you get, and it actually boosts your dopamine and this and that. And Louis C.K.'s like, yeah, I'm sure it does. He's like, but it's just a little ridiculous. And he likened it to when he was in another country and he was saying that his dog needed surgery. He was in like some almost third world country, and his tour guide or like one of the locals laughed, and he was like, that's so weird that you get surgeries for dogs. And then he made the joke, he's like, it's like saying that my chicken has a therapist. That's how silly it sounds to some people who are just really in the struggle, really in the trenches. I have family in Barbados. If they had a dog that they would just let the dog out and just be like, he's on his last days. They wouldn't even check to see what was wrong, because that's just like they're living. It's hard. Some places in life it's really hard. You don't have time to worry about this stuff. I mean, obviously, the first person up is obviously Klaus Schwab. What is more out of touch than thinking that you should be a person who is unelected, who should start an organization that, in his words, penetrates cabinets? You take prime ministers and presidents and you put them in your young global leaders school. You make them learn your ways of doing things. You have them go to their country. They've been completely co-opted by your organization. You're not elected. The things that you have in place are anti-human. You do not care about the rest of the population. You refer to all the world's deemed elite as stakeholders, as if we, the people and the lands that we live on, are just like some kind of stock or company for them to decide what they do with and what they don't do and what they take away from us and what they give us. Just the most out of touch person, possibly. I don't know. We got a list of people here though. But Klaus Schwab is definitely up there. He started a whole organization. The guy was in the Bilderberg group, left and started the World Economic Forum, and basically just tries to push and pull every government of the world in a way that is to his liking, and, you know, probably to some higher up people that we never see or hear about as well. I would say the next person after that would be Bill Gates, and I brought him up before I even started the whole thing. He's just expecting people to stop eating meat, to cut back, and it won't be enough. How amazing is that? It won't be enough to stop climate change. And you know when he said that? He said that in an interview where he for sure took a private jet to. For sure. Takes private jets everywhere. Only takes cars when he has to. And if it is a car, there's multiple cars driving all around him. And he's the person that says, hey, we should really fix climate change. We should really work on it. There's a clip that I'm not even going to show you guys of him guessing grocery prices. And it's just ridiculous. He doesn't get one right. It's absolutely crazy. He is a perfect example of one of these deemed elite that is completely out of touch. I'd put him with the likes of George Soros. Of course, you couldn't have a regular conversation with George Soros whatsoever. He could care less. The last time he was around regular people is when he was walking around with, I think it was his godfather or his uncle, where they're taking land from Jewish people. That was the last time he was around regular people, you know? Doing, you know, I can't even say a regular thing, but at least he was walking around. That's the last time he was like slumming it. So just people like that. And of course we have Robert De Niro talking about Donald Trump. Let's check this out real quick.
It's Biden versus Trump. We want to live in a world that we want to live in and enjoy living in, or live in a nightmare. Vote for Trump and you'll get the nightmare. Vote for Biden and we'll be back to normalcy.
Yeah. So why is Trump winning? I mean, the New York Times poll this week came out, and maybe this will change it with the State of the Union address, but Trump was beating him rather soundly. It was quite a warning light, 48-43, also winning way more among women than he had before, winning outright Latinos. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I just don't want to feel the way I did, and many of us don't, after the election in 2016, where we couldn't believe that it happened. The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person.
The reason people are voting for someone that I don't like, it must be because they want to screw with people. That must be it. And on top of that, at least he said, I don't know. So he doesn't know. He's just assuming it must be because they want to screw with people. That's how it is. That's how it must be. You know, I was saying this guy's been rich since probably the late 80s. A lot of people corrected me in the comments saying this guy's been a multi-millionaire since the 70s. This guy knows nothing, just completely out of touch. And he's going on a platform saying we need to get back to normalcy and vote Biden in. And And then on top of that, again, being out of touch, there hasn't been any normalcy since he's been in office. And he just completely ignores that. He just goes, I don't know why they like him. I don't know why Trump's winning. Can't possibly say maybe it's policies, maybe it's this. Just completely out of touch. He doesn't know. This guy doesn't cook his own dinner. That's another thing with all these people I'm mentioning. They don't cook. They have no idea how to shop. They don't know where their clothes come from. Can you imagine living a life where you don't know where your clothes come from? Like you're a 3-year-old? You have no clue where your clothes come from. They just show up. You just say things and they just show up. And you don't even know who dropped them off. You don't even talk to that person. They're on your payroll. You don't cook food. You have no idea how to cook anything. You just eat it and you say, I like this. Nah, I didn't like that so much. That's it. You live like a Jetson. You're just pressing buttons and things are happening. It's ridiculous. Man, who else? We moving on. Of course, I could stay in this clip and just cover this one, but I'll move on to this clip. Bill Maher himself, of course.
This country came out of the pandemic way better. We won the pandemic economically. I mean, America.
Did? God, I don't feel that way. Explain it to me. I feel like inflation's insane.
Inflation is not insane.
Bill, go buy a car.
There's numbers. I understand things,
a house
but it has
tripled here.
Look, I get that people
buy some eggs.
Buy some eggs. Yeah, try it. Try and go to a store. Go to a store and see what it's like. Talk to a regular person who's not one of your employees, who doesn't want to piss you off because you're the boss. Try doing that. Try going to a street corner and saying what's up to somebody and just being like, how's it going? Go talk to a guy who's a UPS driver and say, hey man, how's it going out here? Of course not. And Bill Maher has said stuff like that. I've done multiple videos, including clips of Bill Maher. He's told this woman the economy's great. He told Patrick Bet-David that the economy's so good. Everything's fine. He's like, things are good. Things aren't bad. Things are good. It's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And it's just person after person that has this it's celebrity after celebrity that has this mindset. These demon elite people and these celebrity puppets, they all are just completely out of touch. Completely out of touch. The only reason I would say Joe Rogan's somewhat within touch is the fact that he goes hunting. And I understand how hard hunting is. He does jujitsu. I understand how hard jujitsu is. So he does some hard things. But he's definitely just wildly rich as well, you know? And I'm not saying rich people, you're automatically out of touch if you're rich. But if you live a certain way and you don't touch certain things ever, you're just going to be out of touch. And honestly, once you're there, I know this sounds bad. You shouldn't have any say in how things work. You shouldn't be going out to people and telling people what to do and what to vote for. Robert De Niro has $100-some-odd million. He shouldn't be telling anybody who to vote for. He's good no matter what. That's what Patrick Bet-David said when he was talking to Bill Maher. He goes, I'm worth a few $100 million. I'm good no matter who the president is. It's not like that for everybody. Certain things switch and things get messed up. Canada right now, I think I was going to do an episode on Canada right now. I think they just had a carbon tax kick in. Trudeau just kicked in some carbon tax. And immediately, well, I mean, if it hasn't already, I don't know. My wife was just telling me about it because, we're doing research and stuff. Apparently, everything is going to go up. The price of everything is going to go up. I don't know, man. It makes me mad. That was one of the reasons why when I was talking to Jimmy Dore, I was really happy that he mentioned that he's worked all these regular jobs for so long, like he's Teamster, this, that, because that's where I'm coming from. I've worked in factories. When I did work in film and television, I was basically a janitor for the most part. It would put me around celebrities and stuff, but I was just taking out garbages and cleaning up and just nastiness that they would leave around. So I've always had to just work hard. But again, once you get to a certain level, you shouldn't even be talking. I don't know, man. I don't know. I get a little pissed off, especially with this clip. This is Tom Segura. You would think someone who, when Joe Rogan said, You start a podcast. You should definitely start a podcast. And he did. And Joe Rogan did what Joe Rogan does. He had him on the JRE multiple times, helping him push that podcast. Little bit of a word for Netflix. Hey, I'm in Netflix. I can put in a good word for you. Just knowing that that's where you come from, that one of your friends pretty much handed you a large, not all your success, but a large portion of your success. They said, here's the biggest platform in the world. Come talk to me, say some funny jokes. I'll tell everybody about your podcast. I'll tell everybody about your Netflix special. I'll tell everybody. You would think a guy like that would be super humble and just know how lucky he is that he just bumped into a guy that happened to be named Joe Rogan, that just thought he was funny and then took him on the road. You think this guy would be super humble. Just being a comedian, you think you'd be super humble, having to deal with getting yelled at and heckled and this is not working, you're making no money. You think you just keep this humbleness about you. But somewhere along the way, this guy lost his way. Check it out.
Can I just say this real quick?
Yeah.
Every time we talk about like a watch or a car, I'll get a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. You're in control of your own situation and your own feelings. So don't put it on me that you feel bad, that I have something that, but I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it the fuck out, okay? Like, don't make my life be a problem for your life. If you don't like it, guess what? You're not going to be able to control what people talk about. People are going to talk about things that you don't have for the rest of your fucking life. So you can decide like, okay, I won't, fine, don't listen to me, don't listen to that person anymore, but you have to control your own feelings, okay? It's not on other people to make sure they don't talk about a topic that makes you feel bad, all right? Like, I lost 20 grand gambling this weekend. Go ahead.
You get to choose to be one of the two people. You can be the person that sticks in the fucking hole and goes, woe is me, or you can be the person that goes, oh, that's cool, I want that shit.
Sure.
I want to work to get that shit. Dane Cook is my example of this. Dane Cook got cool.
You don't know how much that pisses me off. You know why? You know why too? Because I'm still fucking, you guys know I built this channel on fucking Joe Rogan. I love the podcast. It's something that I listen to every day, whether I was doing this or not. I've been listening for almost a decade before I even decided to do anything like this. I'm an avid listener of podcasts. They used to get me through my work days when I was working in factories and grocery stores and working through agency jobs where they just send you wherever and you're treated like shit. The reason that this annoys me so much is because I'm taking a clip from a podcast. They said this deep into their podcast, about halfway into a podcast. They usually do like an hour and a half to 2 hours. The only people who are listening after an hour of you in a podcast are not the fair weather people. It's no one's hate watching at that point. No one's sitting back and hate watching you for hours. They'll come in for a few minutes, take some stuff you said out of context, and just leave this video, put a thumbs down, and just continue on hating. The only people who are watching, if you've made a video and it's 2 hours long after an hour, the only people who are listening are people who absolutely love you. People who absolutely look to you to help them get through their shitty moments in life, their job where they're just working and they just need something to listen to laugh at, and to go out of your way to stop what's going on so you could say that to them is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it's like, I didn't even know if this should be number one or if the one I'm about to play should be number one. Because it's just so crazy. He's one of the 6 people Cat Williams was talking about not being funny. That's only where he's at because Joe Rogan was pushing him. He's one of the 6, 100%. It's Bert, Tom, Ari, for sure. I know it's those 3, for sure. I don't know who the other 3 are because I like Shane Gillis. And I have a buddy who thinks Mark Norman is the funniest person in the world. But I know for sure it's these three, 100, these two, 100%, Tom, 100%. So for you to be saying that to a bunch of people who are just trying to, and again, you don't even know who's listening. You know how many, oh man, I could go on for so long about this. Man, I'll probably going to take this to my other channel and go a little deeper because he's been shitty for a while. But man, oh God, I can't believe it. And this is number one. This lady right here. This one right here. Listen to what she has to say.
Passionate about, because if you don't have passion in it, it's not easy, regardless of how it looks. And I think people see things with instant gratification because of social media, that they think it just comes easy to people. It doesn't, especially if you want something long term.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
That's so true.
You have to surround yourself with people that want to work. Have a good work environment where everyone loves what they do, because you have one life. No toxic work environments, and show up and do the work.
If you're the smartest person in that room, you gotta go to another room. Like,
they never left that. They never leave a room. I guess this is number one. Tom annoys me way more than anybody else, and I've been thinking about that clip for months. But this is out of this world, because this lady, from what we know, there was a tape made of some acts. They were doing some things in this tape, and the mother actually sold the tape for a few $1 million, and that started their bankroll towards everything that we see now. So to be like, get up and work again, so out of touch. Like, do you know who's watching these videos? It's not some other millionaire who's like, yeah. It's people who are just regular and down on their luck and are just watching these videos to just get by. They just want to hear some stuff that's going to make them laugh, make them think, and just make the time go by. So many times that's what people are looking for. And then you're going to tell them to get off and work, get to work. Absolutely crazy. Like, most of the population isn't working like crazy. Working check to check. Man, it just annoys me. That annoys me so much. But again, this was the list of people, and there's so many more. Don't get me wrong. There's so many more. There's so many celebrities who are just out of touch, because they really are. They have no idea what real life is like. They just pretend to be people. And then some of them get paid exorbitant amounts of money, and they're not even good at it. And after learning about the Weinstein situation, we actually know how they get into those roles that make them that crazy amount of money. So it's not like even just pretending to be someone else is the talent. The thing you did in the dark room is actually what got you there. Oh, man. You have no idea how. Oh, man. All right. Listen, like I said, I have another channel, Coach Colin Media. Please subscribe to that. And if you're not subscribed to this, subscribe here too. We're trying to get out as much content as possible. We're trying our best out here, and it's just me. Honestly, I need to hire somebody to do something. I'm not sure what, but it's just me. I'm doing my best. I'm posting as much as possible. If you want to see me break away from the Rogan content, please hit up that channel. And if you like what you saw just now, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I'm out.